Across the UK, rickshaws are fast becoming commonplace, but with reports of people falling out, collisions with other road users and even a fatality, there are concerns that the lack of nationwide regulation could see an increase in the number of accidents. A leading road safety charity says there needs to be comprehensive measures in place.
It's important to do something rather, so a little bit of, dare I say, very light touch regulation. Let's get minimum standards of insurance in place, some sort of registration, so at least we know how many there are and, have a look at the people operating them.
So I've got a rickshaw, I've done some cycling, so what's stopping me going into business as a rickshaw rider? Well, it might surprise you to know not very much, and it depends on where you are. On the roads of London, there are no official regulations in place, but councils in other cities must be notified that you're operating a rickshaw service. For example, in Edinburgh, you need a street trader's licence to take to the roads. Potential passengers told us they were surprised by this lack of control.
I would be quite shocked actually, because obviously any vehicle should have a licence on the road, or where there's pedestrians.
When you've just come out of somewhere and they're there, it's so convenient that you just jump in, you don't think about it really.
I've been in one, I didn't know that, so I've took my daughter in it, which I probably wouldn't have done if I'd have known that.
And it's not just members of the public who have concerns. Many rickshaw riders themselves support the call for regulation.
We do great bike checks every day, and then obviously everyone is insured. So it'd be great that if everyone could adhere to the same rules, regulations and ethics that we do, because those that aren't sticking to the rules that they should, they tarnish everyone else with a bad brush.
But not all riders are convinced it's necessary.
I don't think we need regulation, because we check the bike before we go out, because it's our job and we feel safe if our rickshaw is in good condition.
There are signs that London is taking the issue seriously. The Mayor's office has asked Transport for London to examine the impact of rickshaw safety on some of the country's busiest roads, while councils and rickshaw riders across the UK debate the need for greater regulations. The advice is use a bit of common sense, and if it doesn't look up to scratch, it probably isn't worth the ride. Nancy Cole, BBC News.
Something to provide some food for thought. Joining us now to talk about the merits of rickshaws is FRIEDEL Schroder, a director of a rickshaw company based in London called Bug Bugs, great name, and MICK BAILEY, a committee member of the RMT union and a taxi driver. Welcome to you both. FRIEDEL, let me begin with you. You heard the riders saying that they'd be keen to have insurance. You've got, what, 30 Bug Bugs rickshaws in London at the moment. Do you think insurance is necessary?
Yeah, I think it's important to have training for the riders, a good bike and insurance.
Sorry, Mick, now taxi driver, forgive me, but London cabbies get cross about lots of things, don't they? Presumably rickshaws are not your most favourite vehicles?
No, London cabbies, specifically the RMT, are very cross about rickshaws. We're very cross about this weak legislation that appears to be trying to be forced through the House. We've opposed a bill that's going through Parliament that's going to make this unenforceable and voluntary regulations for these rickshaws. Just ridiculous, and they're dangerous, as we stated before. There's no protection for passengers. If they're involved in a collision, there's no protection at all. There have been many accidents involving these rickshaws, and I don't think even insurance would make a difference to that.
You've brought up 2 points there. Let's just start with the first, that this law isn't enforceable. This is a problem, isn't it? Do you think, I mean, you're not going to say our drivers won't enforce this or whatever, or we're not going to enforce this, but do you think that there is a legitimate concern that many of the rickshaw operators will just simply choose not to enforce this law?
You need a stick and a carrot. You have at the moment lowest common denominator out there, so you can buy a bike for $750 and get out on the street. Now, unless this is a compulsory thing, that will carry on.
And the second point that Mick brought up was the fact that they're dangerous, that there are concerns about collision. Do you just want to defend that?
Yeah, it's. I mean, anyone who's walking or cycling knows that it's actually a car that hits you, not the other way around.
But you need to feel safe. This is the point that Mick's saying. You need to feel safe inside the rickshaw, don't you?
Even as walking, yes. I mean, we now produce bikes in the UK, so they have taken the lead in development from some of the test the crash testing that the LTDA, the London Taxi Drivers Association, did with the very first generation of rickshaws. So there's a lot of safety features now in those bikes. Again, if you're driving 1 or 2 tons of steel into a bike or pedestrian, the pedestrian and the bike are going to come out worse.
Isn't the real problem here that this is competition for you? I presume, I've not been in a rickshaw, I have to confess, seen lots of them, but that they're cheaper than a taxi, and that's really what you're bothered about?
Well, I think they should be. We're not bothered about that. I think they should be cheaper because the likelihood of you being killed in a rickshaw is inevitable. I think if you're involved in a collision...
not inevitable.
Well, is more of a risk than if you're involved in a collision, let's say, in a licensed taxi. Also, there's the fare element. You know, the fares are regulated in a licensed taxi. I can't charge anybody what I think off the top of my head. It's done on a meter. These people we hear are charging all sorts of ridiculous amounts to put people in a dangerous vehicle where they've got no protection.
Are they taking business away from you in London?
I would say maybe a little. Some of the tourists that don't know, yes, but that's not the problem. The problem and the reason why we're here today discussing it with you is this weak, unenforceable legislation that we're concerned about. We think the members of the public should be treated with more respect and be looked after and kept safe. We've got a mayor in London, Boris Johnson, that's inviting millions of people for the Olympics to visit London, telling them what a safe city we are, safe city, safe place for women to travel at night. Women are being raped by drivers. There's 2 cases gone on in the recent past where drivers have committed rape. One got 8 years in prison recently. This is the reason why we need strong legislation and a commitment from the powers that be to protect people that travel in these vehicles.
Well, I would have thought an absolutely basic thing for these rickshaws is insurance. I mean, if you climb into the back of one of those things, you're involved in any number of possible incidents. You'll be tipped out, you know, big black taxi could come in crashing into the back of you. But a lot of them are chasing around uninsured, aren't they?
The thing is training, actually. If you've got the training, this vehicle travels at 15 miles an hour, so this is equivalent to somebody falling off their bicycle. So the risk of injury
you're not going to have a crash hat on sitting in the back of a rickshaw, are you?
I mean, the new bikes do actually have a roll cage in them, so the passengers themselves will be fine. But what you will find is that travelling at those speeds, the risk of actually hitting yourself is not that likely. You're more likely to actually get hit by a car than you are going to have an accident in a rickshaw.
Mick, they're seen as a viable alternative to people who perhaps don't want to get into a car, perhaps think they're more environmentally friendly. Surely there is some compromise here to be offered that both taxis and rickshaws can exist peacefully.
There is a compromise, as I said earlier. Theme parks around the park, trips to and from the zoo, yes, great, fantastic, but not on the main roads where we've heard about Frizzle saying getting hit by a car. That's exactly our point. If you get hit by a car and you're in the back of a rickshaw, you're going to be in serious trouble. If you get hit by a juggernaut or you're in the back of a taxi, you've got more of a chance than you would have on a bicycle.
Freedom.
2,700 people die early in London thanks to emissions and fuel use in general in the capital. So I think more bikes and walking is the way to go, not more cars going faster.
Must ask you one question, Mick. Have you actually been a passenger in one of these things?
No.
Why does that not surprise me? I think we need to put you in separate green rooms when we say goodbye to you now.
No, we're fine.
Mick, Friedel, it's been lovely talking to you. Thanks for bringing us both your views.
Thank you very much.